So this is a game review for Timogroks and Nhien. It is a handicap game. So I will be also talking about some handicap ideologies and how to play a handicap game both from the person giving the handicap and also getting the handicap. So not all the moves need to be perfect the way that you play a normal equal game. So let's start with this. So the first move, it's fine. Even AI is fine with this, but I would prefer to make moves like this or make moves like this because it's better to start approaching our opponent rather than making an area in our own area, because we are behind on points and the best way to win is to be able to expand our board and prevent our opponent from making a huge area. So like this, you can see the idea is not the best because we are constrained over the top of the board when our opponent still has quite a bit of influence on two sides, right? So all this is fine. Our opponent here makes a Joseki mistake. Normally we do this. This is the correct form of the Joseki, but since our opponent made a mistake, this is fine, but this is a better move. Even if our opponent does this, they would have to play this to capture the stone, and we can even play a move like this and start to try and destroy the whole Moyo area because we're not too worried about any fights. Again, us being the stronger player, fighting is in our favor because we are stronger, right? And we can read better, right? So here the best move for black would be this because it prevents the tiger's mouth. Always remember, our opponent's best move is our best move, so we want to think of it in that simplicity, because again, remember, any push over here by our opponent is not going to be the best because now black gets a nice wall and the Moyo starts to look even more scary, right? So all these moves a bit passive, that's fine. This is an overplay, right? White can simply even try something like this. Yes, there's a cut and stuff, but since this would be the best result, we can try and test our opponent to see if it's viable. The actual best move is this, and then we can continue to press our opponent in the case they keep trying to push us, just so that we can get a bit more points. So yeah, Tenukuing is never good. We always want to answer this. So once our opponent touches, we want to be fine in the local area before moving away. So again, Joseki mistake. This is the best scenario. We don't really care about the corner. We have a supporting stone over here, so it's unnecessary that we care about the corner here. So again, this is not a good move. We're going into our opponent's area. Idea here would be this or this or this attachment. These are called probing moves, but these are not for DDK players. I would just say remain very simple, remain very standard, learn basics and focus on the fundamentals. So anything like this would be fine, right? Because if our opponent, we can get this kind of situation and even corner and surround this group, which is quite nice because now we have some influence to make the move that we want to, right? In this situation, if black gets the opportunity to play something like this, even now we understand why, because we have influence in this direction. So okay, decent move. I can see that white is quite stable here, not a lot to worry about. I wouldn't really play this move. Again, I might even play this move because these two stones can still be connected in this manner. Yes, there's like cuts and stuff, but there's a lot of fighting here involved, and I do not believe our opponent will be able to fight back as strong as we can handle it. So trying to play a bit more aggressive is an idea you can think of, right? We don't have to be so protective of our groups, because again, we are still behind on points, right? So yeah, so now we can see that by this, black has created a useless group that does nothing, right? Here, this group is not getting territory, it's not doing a lot of influence, so it's kind of pointless to add more stones here. So yes, white Tanuking is the good move. All this is good. This looks good. I wouldn't play this. Again, if I really want to keep moving, I would play this because it prevents the simple tiger's mouth. We just want to think about simple shapes and think about that, where this kind of move, right, is what our opponent wants to play, and then if they do get to play it, it's not fun, you know. And this should be the answer to this, because I mean, simple. Our opponent wants to cut and defend. So our opponent plays this cut here. Again, this should be the answer, not this. This is too passive. We have to remember we have one extra liberty, so we can't really be captured. And this is not good because now you can see our opponent has surrounded us, and we never want to be completely surrounded in this manner, because again, if we do something like this, opportunities can arrive later that if our opponent does do this, it's gote for him, and if we ever have the opportunity, we could even try and come out and maybe fight if there were more stones in the center area. Right, so again, this move is very weird. We have made a very, very strong shape of a group. Why are we playing extremely close to it, right? We want to be further. Moves like jumping out here is all fine. Moves like this would be fine. Moves like this to try and get this group to run will be fine. So any move like that would be way better, right? So our opponent does this, threatening to surround. I mean, again, an easier method is just this. I feel like you're jumping from a stone that's attached to, unless you want this to happen. Okay, that's an idea, but this is just easier. You just force him to go down, or if they don't answer and they do jump out, you have now influence to try and peep with this, and then when you bring these stones out, it's a much easier variation to deal with. So okay, white decides to run this way. Again, I don't think that's the best idea. The better idea would just be to like try and attach and start some fight. Even there's some cuts, you can do a lot of stuff over here, and like maybe even push. So if like black even cuts, you can continue. There's a lot of fighting variations. You have to be okay with fighting in a handicap game, especially as a stronger player. So again, you see all these moves are okay, but they are okay at best. They're not doing the best thing that they could be doing, which is destroying our opponent's area. We are behind on points. We don't want to be the ones keeping points. We want to be the one destroying, right? Okay, decent idea. I mean, I would still think maybe even a Hane like this if there's a cut and a push, and maybe even something like this could be something if you really want to try and reduce the area, or you can just try and test it out. Always remember, when our opponent attaches, please Hane or stretch. It's a very basic instinct that you should just always have. Don't go away from it, because you are losing the opportunity, because as the person being attached to, you always have the advantage of being the first one to act, so you get to secure yourself better, right? So okay, there's a peep here, and black tries to do this. So again, not a good idea that we as black, we're just getting ourselves surrounded. So if white's idea was to surround these stones, the easier method is just this, you know, because this is attached. Like this makes sense, right? If we get cut, we can Atari even, and if we're really scared, we have multiple ways of connecting. And I feel like the shape here is more secure rather than how it is with this situation. So okay, this is a good move, this is a good shape move. This seems weird and unnecessary. I think maybe even removing this is a good idea. That also allows us to try and push and cut, because, you know, a 2 space is not a direct connection, a large knight is not a direct connection. All of these can be cut, right? And if they can be cut, then you can use it to your advantage, right? A lot of moves that were played which were not the best, kind of focusing on the wrong thing, you know. Again, if your groups are alive, then you don't need to worry about it, right? If you're really worried about your opponent being able to play a move like this, you have to remember that this kind of stuff, try and read, can you be alive? I mean, I feel like I don't think this can die that easily. Yeah, I feel like you can make eyes. So you can think about this as, if you're white and you're the one who is stronger, you need to be less afraid of being killed, because your opponent's not gonna know what they're trying to do. They're just trying to split you into 2 groups, but you are better. You know that you're kind of connected here, you know you can make eyes over here, so maybe you can choose to be a bit more risky in these kinds of situations. See if you can try and read. It also helps develop your reading, right? So this move is too deep. This is not a good invasion. We don't have any ways of escaping, because that's the easiest way to live, and we are too deep in our opponent's territory that we're trying things that are not worth. So most likely here, I would, as white, kind of try and maybe even block the ways that black can get out, right? Maybe even moves like this will be fine if I really need to. But the issue here is, you know, we have not the best situation now if black does get to block all of this, because it's a lot of points. So we might think of a situation as, are we decently connected to our groups? If we are, or if you're not, can we find a good way? You know, maybe like this move might just better connect this group, right? So if black does try some funny stuff, you know, it just doesn't work because we're connected. Because if like maybe there's a cut, stuff like this, there's still a connection, you know. Maybe there's also a chance that black can live, but we have to understand that, again, black living in this small area is not really purposeful. Our goal is to destroy this area. This is the big area. This is what black's main points are. So if our groups are safe enough to live locally, we can not care about our points and care about destroying our opponent's group. So okay, there's a lot of fights here, right? Black tries to struggle around but is not able to live. You know, like moves like this is not purposeful because it doesn't do much. White has eyes and is way stronger. So none of these moves would be good. The best thing would be to just secure the border of our area, because if we try and estimate our score here, now white is ahead because of all this struggling and pushing around. Okay, so again here, wrong move. very simple, just block in this manner. If you can even cut here, because again you're not super afraid of being cut, because I don't think white has any good moves yet. I guess maybe this can happen, but I don't think it works in its exact manner, because you know, here there's a thing here, and then this can still get connected, so you're more secure. So you don't have to, you should learn to play harness and understand if the cut works or not. Try reading a bit. Don't be super afraid just because our opponent plays a move, right? So our opponent plays here, which is good, because now really destroying our opponent's territory. This is not a good cut because it doesn't work. Again, we want to read if it works, right? Try reading 3 moves. If we play here, what's our opponent gonna play? Probably this, right? Now if we move forward, can we even connect? Yes, maybe there's a gap here, but to run this out, our opponent just plays 1 move and there's nothing else to connect, right? So we have to think about that. So this is again not a good move. If you want to just connect because you're afraid, just connect. Making these kinds of moves feels like you're also giving your opponent strength, right? If we want to connect because we're afraid, then we just do that, because again our opponent won't play this. But in the future, that let's say we have the opportunity to play a move like this, if our opponent cuts here, then you know, this kind of move, there's a possibility that we could even capture this. So like this and like this, I feel like something can die, right? So we have to think about that. We don't want to remove RG just because, you know, we're trying to find a unique way to connect. Okay, here, okay, this is fine. Again, this is the reason why. Now if you had played this and your opponent, well, if they were proper, they would probably play this, right? Then maybe you could even try some cuts here if you want to fight. But again, you see that you're not able to push the way that you want to, so you have to connect again. And again, as black, we have to remember just honey, right? We have to be able to take some level of damage in some area, right? If this is what we have to do and maybe live locally, then we live locally, just so that we can get our points, right? You can see white just keeps pushing in and then keeps destroying the areas. Okay, this is a cool move by black. Black is able to spot the weaknesses, but again, you know, unnecessary move here, right? We can just not play this and then just play this, so that if white does do this, you know, it's pointless. Again, I don't think this is fully necessary. We can still maybe see if there's opportunities to come in, and only when we have no way to do that, then we can think about endgame moves like this, or whatever endgame moves you want to play. So mostly the game ends after this, because, you know, white really has destroyed a lot. So the main tips for black would be to make sure that you understand how weak or how strong your groups are, and what are the cutting points, right? When to be able to invade your opponent, right? You need to know, you have to have preemptive steps in between before you do something. You have the ability to escape or something if you're trying to do an invasion. And for white, you need to be learning how to make more overplays that will scare your opponent and find ways to fight and not just keep points, because you could do way better if you were to be more aggressive.